これって近くじゃない？
あ、本当だね。
あんたも気をつけなさいよ。
死ぬよ、そりゃ。私も君も。
そうじゃなくて。
私に生きてほしいの？
うん。とても。
Okay, so I might sound a little bit different, but yeah, okay. So yeah, I might sound a little bit different just because, well, the plot of the movie just kind of relates to something that happened kind of recently. So yeah, so I'm kind of down at times. It's just, yes, no, I sound a little bit. Stuff happened, so yeah. Damn it. So I do apologize for like the beginning of the video. I wasn't really in the right state of mind. I was still like kind of in shock. I keep in mind I recorded that like about a week ago. I was planning on making this video about a week ago, but the timing just wasn't right and stuff, so I just kind of decided not to post the video. So short story, one of my friends passed away recently. I found out about a week ago today, and it just kind of left me shaking for like a few days. I just really wasn't in the right state of mind. I didn't really care too much about things. I was just really not feeling it. I wasn't really feeling it, and that kind of sucks when you were really close with someone. If you've ever had someone pass away, then you know, like, it just kind of sucks when they're not here and you think about them and all that you can do is think about them, and it just really hurts. It just really hurts. Like, man, it just kind of sucks going through that. You know the emotions. If you've had someone pass away, then you get what I'm saying. But yeah, that's kind of the whole reason I wanted to talk about this film, because to me this is a really sad, tragic story, which is ultimately really beautiful, and it tells a story about moving on and dealing with travesty and like understanding trauma and stuff like that, which to me, I kind of relate more to the characters within the story. I see myself in like the shoes of the characters. I now understand the whole point of this film because I've experienced this for myself, which I never really wanted to, but I kind of understand the characters a bit more, and I really just like this film because to me it's a really tearjerker. It's really heartbreaking. I think the only saddest anime that comes close to this that made me bawl my eyes out has got to be Clan Out After Story, but that's a different video for like a different topic, which should come out sometime in the future. I gotta rewatch the entire thing. But let's just talk about I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, because to me it's a really special film. Now it's a really special film. It's one of my favorite films aside from A Silent Voice, which I really love. But without getting too much into spoilers, I'm just gonna generally talk about the film and not talk about too much of the plot points, just because I really don't want to ruin the experience for you guys if you haven't really watched it. But let's get moving. So essentially the story follows two characters. A really introverted guy who's kind of a bookworm. He's kind of to himself. He's very shy. He's very like, just basically to himself. He doesn't really like talk to people too much. And then you have this extroverted girl. Her name is Sakura. And Sakura, her thing is she has a disease, and she hasn't really told her friends, her family, just about anyone. Maybe her mom knows, but it's not really implied. Basically, no one knows that she's gonna die from this disease, and she ultimately comes across this guy, Haruki. They end up becoming friends by chance whenever she drops her notebook, and he ends up stumbling across it saying, "Hey, is this your notebook, and are you actually going to die?" And she straight up says with a smile, "Yes, I'm going to die. Would you like to be friends?" So they ultimately form an unlikely friendship which blossoms throughout the story of the film. So the film itself, to me, like the animation wise, I think it's pretty simple. It's not too complex, but it is really good. It has you focusing on the dynamic between these two characters, between Haruki and Sakura. As the story progresses from the beginning of the film towards the end of the film, you start to see like what made their bond so special, because the beginning of the film essentially starts off with their funeral, and right then and there I thought I was kind of spoiled, because I'm like, hey, am I watching the wrong film? Like, are they really gonna start off this film with her funeral? And the answer is yes, because that's the beauty of the story. It starts off with death and then ends with life. I don't want to explain too much about it, but I'll get to that. So essentially, the story starts off with her at her funeral, and then you start to understand why it decided to kick off with the funeral, because you get to see the progression between these two characters meeting towards the end of the film when they ultimately embrace one another. But then tragedy strikes, because there's a big twist towards the end that I really don't want to ruin, but keep that in mind. So ultimately, as the story progresses, we get to see these two characters form an unlikely friendship, an unlikely duo, which I think people can actually relate to, because to me, that's how I felt with my friend. Like, she was kind of a popular girl, she was like friends with everyone, and I was kind of like that guy who was always quiet, who always kept to himself, and I never understood why she was friends around me, because she wanted to use me, because she was cool. But no, I ultimately liked our friendship, and it was kind of something with the story of Haruki and Sakura. They became an unlikely couple, an unlikely duo. They ultimately go on a separate trip in a different part of Japan. They sneak off, they get a hotel, and they end up fooling around. They almost fooled around, but then nothing really happens. And towards the end of the film, when Haruki wants to confess to Sakura, wants to tell her, hey, I finally understand, tragedy happens. He missed her funeral, and he ends up like holding all these like emotions and holding it until it bubbles to a certain point, when he actually ultimately breaks down, when he finds out that she's gone and he can't really do anything. He misses her funeral, and he ultimately gets a hold of her phone, and the final text she was gonna send them before she passed away was, I want to eat your pancreas. And in Japanese culture, if I remember correctly, eating someone's like pancreas or eating someone's like brain or something like lets you be like together. Like, if you eat someone's pancreas, apparently you gain their ability, you gain their spirits. They will always reside within you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not too sure. I think it's true, I think it's not. It might be some weird spiritual thing, I'm not too sure. But that's kind of the whole reason she was going to end up texting him that, but she never really got a chance to, because she passed away unexpectedly. But you won't really expect how she passed away, because I don't want to spoil that. I really don't want to spoil too many details of the film. Just know this is a really tragic film, but it ultimately celebrates that tragedy. It tells you that no matter how sad things can be, always enjoy the little things, always enjoy those around you, cherish life, be happy with those around you. And I really love the viewpoint of Haruki, how he's kind of nihilistic towards the beginning. He doesn't understand why he chose her out of all her friends. Like, sure, none of her friends know yet, but if she died right then and there, her friends will care. He won't really care, and that's exactly why Sakura chose Haruki, because he won't really care when she ends up passing away, but ultimately he does. And it's kind of a sick joke at the end of the day, because she chose the one person they wouldn't care, who ultimately cared too much about it. It's really a sad and beautiful story about friendship, about tragedy, which to me kind of hits a bit too close to home now after what happened to my friend. I really relate to Haruki a bit more, and Sakura, she was just a character. She was just someone who was taken away at such a young age, which you didn't really expect to happen, but it did. Towards the end of the film, you see this beautiful moment when both of these characters reunite, and it's really sad. Like, it got to me. It was like 4 a.m. when I was just sitting there bawling my eyes out, crying, and like, oh, so many emotions were flowing through me. So I was like feeling happy, sad, angry at the same time while watching this film. And it is such a beautiful film. I honestly give it a 9 out of 10. There's very few films that I give 9 out of 10. Same thing with anime, very few anime, but to me this is one of those that is an absolute must. And I don't know, just like the whole dynamic between these two characters kind of reminds me of something me and my friend used to have. We kind of have a similar dynamic, which to me kind of hurts rewatching this film, because I cannot put my shoes in Haruki, like how he felt at the moment and how he feels at the end of the story, because that's ultimately how I feel. Anyways, with that being said, I'll catch you guys on my next video. And yeah, what you think about the film? Did you cry? Did you bawl your eyes out like me? But I don't know. I'll catch you guys on my next one. Peace.